Hey, what's up? It's Jake from Nimbus DevOps, and next we are going to go over making HTTP requests. So let's make a file called rex.py, and then a brief introduction. So we'll do two examples on this. First, we're going to use a request library, which you can install with pip, and it's included in the requirements file. In any pretty much any training that you'll do is to have pip, and we're going to perform a HTTP request against a website API, which was developed by the creator of the request library himself. So yeah, let's get into it. So we have to first import requests, and once you have that imported, we're going to create an object of URLs. So we're going to say get is going to be https :// and then we'll be using httpbin.org, which is the site, and then we're going to do get question mark, which is the query, t equals learn Python programming. These should be addition operators, not hyphens, like that. Okay, so we have a get. Now we need some headers, and in this case, it'll just be https :/ httpbin.org/headers, and then comma, and then we're gonna need an IP, and for this, we're just gonna use https :// httpbin.org/ip .org. There we go, /IP. And then we need a user agent, which will be https :// you guessed it, user agent. And we're also going to have a UUID, which will be https :// And finally, JSON, which will be https :// Okay, so now I have an object, and next we need to find a function. So let's do get underscore content, and we just want title and URL. That's what we're going to pass. So we'll have a response, which will be requests.get URL, and then we're going to print f response for title, and then we want to print the response.json. Response.json. Yep, like that. Okay, cool. So now we'll just say for title, comma, URL in urls.items. So that should go through all of our URLs. There we go. We want to do something. So we want to get underscore content. So we're going to call our function title and URL, and then print with a hyphen, *40. So this is fairly simple to understand, but I will go over it really quick just to make sure. We declare a dictionary of URLs here against which we want to perform HTTP requests. So we want to perform requests on all these things, okay? And then we have encapsulated the code that performs the request into a tiny function, get content. So we're going to pass a title and a URL to this function, and it's going to do a request, get the URL, and then print out the title and the response.json file. And this will be the decoded version of the body of the response. So the last part of that might be kind of weird, but so let me explain. So when you perform a request to a website or to an API, you get back a response object, which is just like an answer, right? It's what was returned by the server we performed the request against. So the body of some responses from http-bin.org happen to be JSON encoded. So instead of getting the body as it is by using response.txt and manually decoding it, calling like json.loads, which I did before, you can simply combine the two by leveraging the JSON method on the response object. There are plenty of reasons why the request package has become so widely adopted, and one of them is definitely how easy it is to use it. So when you perform a request on your app, you'll want to have a much more robust approach to dealing with errors and so on. But for the purposes of this, this simple example should be fine. I will go into API development later on, much later on. So let's go back to the code. In the end, we run a for loop and we get all the URLs. And when you run it, you'll see the result of each call printed on the console, which should look something like this. So if I do Python rex, oh, no module name requests. Did I do that wrong? What did I type wrong? I typed, let me see here. It's probably because I don't have it installed. So let me pull up good old PowerShell, run as an administrator, and I should be able to do python-m install pip 3, no module name pip install. Let me check and see if I have pip. Do I? I guess I do. Do I have requests? Let's try it. Pip install m requests. Oh, let's not do the module. Pip install requests. Okay, let me try this again. Save. There we go. I just didn't have it installed. Okay, so response for get, I get from the argument learn Python programming. I got my accept. I've got all my information here. The response for headers, I've got that here for IP, user agent, UUID, and the JSON. So I've got literally all the information right here. And you just did your first HTTP request. So essentially what we did was we interacted with an API. So there's some data on a website somewhere, and there's a special format that they have if you want to access it. And we just wrote, uh, 19 lines of code to be able to go to those URLs and request this data and get it back. And so you can get this back and store it in an object. You can store it in a database. You can manipulate the text, you can do whatever you want to do to it. And this is how most of your applications today work. So this is just the very, very beginning of how this works. But notice that you get slightly different output in terms of version numbers and IPs and all that stuff, which is fine. That's fine. Get is only one of the HTTPS, I'll call them like a verb, but it's the most common one because a lot of people are just getting information all the time. But there's also an example of how to do, you can write data with something called post. So with post, it's a type of request when you need to send data to a server, and every time you submit a form on the web, you're making a post request. Okay, so I'll make a new file, but just imagine imagine that you're filling out a form, right? Give me your address and your phone number and this and that and this and that. That would be submitting data, and it's just making a post request. And this is kind of what that might look like on the back end. So if we do import requests, and we'll just do a simple one. I'll say our URL is https://httpbin.org/post. Okay, there we go. I have a URL, and we need some data. So we'll do a dictionary, and let's do a simple title equals learn Python programming, just like that. Then I can say the response is going to be request.post with our URL, and data will equal data, and that's the data that we request is looking for data, and we define that. So we're passing data as the data object up there. And then we're just going to print the response for post. And you'll see get and post and all that stuff in all caps. And then after that, I'll just say response.json because I want to get the JSON format back. Response.json. There we go. And that's it. So it looks pretty similar to what we did. It's pretty simple. We don't use get. This is the post version because we want to send data, specifically the one in the call, right? And the request library has a lot more. There's so much stuff you can do. You can go look it up. It's a project I definitely encourage you to explore. And if we run this script, let's see what happens. Rex underscore post. Response for post, and then it gives you back a response. And you have all this information, and you could store this or do whatever you want. But the headers are now different. The data we sent in the form of a key value pair of the body of a response. So you're getting like title, learn Python programming, header, accept blah, 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 blah. So hopefully these short examples are enough to get you started, especially with requests. The internet is constantly changing, so it's worth learning the basics and then brushing up on it every now and then. If you have any questions, let me know. And if not, then happy requesting.